The other scriptures, Deuteronomy 11:26, and I just want to kind of go over these and kind of take them in the light of what's going to be said later in Deuteronomy. Okay, Deuteronomy 11:26. Okay, so again here. See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you today, and the curse, if you do not obey the commandments of the Lord your God, but turn aside from the way that I am commanding you today, to go after other gods that you have not known. Okay, again, is this saying that they have the power of contrary choice? Again, is it not rather stating the consequences for actions that they may choose? This is not giving rather a hypothetical situation here. If you do this, then this. But if you do this, then this. He's just laying out the consequences. He's not explicitly stating you have libertarian free will or autonomous free will to choose which way you want to go. Again, that's really reading into the text. Okay, same thing. We go to Deuteronomy 30:19, and again, I call heaven and earth to witness against you today that I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Therefore choose life, that you and your offspring may live. Again, it's just laying out the options. It's not saying anything at all. There's no metaphysical statement at all about the human will here, period. It's just, I've laid out these options. That's it. Okay? Now, in the Song of Moses, in Deuteronomy 32, okay, this is a prophecy of what is going to happen to Israel. So when we take all that's been said about these choices, Deuteronomy 32 is essentially going to tell us what it is that Israel is going to choose. And God is prophesying that Israel is going to choose this. Okay? He is essentially decreeing. Okay? One thing that we do have to get away from, and let me kind of backtrack here, in regards to God's omniscience, okay, I mentioned on a video of Mr. Ruggerio, yes, God is all-knowing, but that's not really the issue when it comes to Calvinism and Arminianism. The issue is, rather, how does God know what He knows? Does He know, and Mr. Ruggerio tried to say, yes, He hasn't gained any knowledge, nobody has taught Him, but if that's true, then isn't it more consistent to say that God knows all things because He has decreed them to be in such a manner, because He made them to be that way? Isn't that what prophecy is? Or is prophecy rather God looking down the corridors of time? And I always like to use the example from the movie Spaceballs, where they put the movie on and they fast forward and they see what happens. Is that how God gains His knowledge? Has He seen all of creation, basically run through and, okay, I already know what's going to happen. Doesn't that mean God learned something that He had to learn based on the free will of the creatures? I don't know. And then we have to ask the further question. If God has already seen what's going to happen, are we still free to change that? If we're not, then is there really such a thing as free will? Or was free will this one-time shot run-through that you had? And then, of course, Mr. Ruggerio has to answer such claims. Well, if God already knew that such and such people were going to go to hell, why did God still create them? Why couldn't He just choose not to create them? Kind of a dilemma that He doesn't want to face upon Himself, too. Also, I think it's more consistent, and again, many people don't like this conclusion, but really and truly, open theism is the logical conclusion of free will theology. God really shouldn't know the future if we are really free to choose. Because if we're free, that means God really doesn't know. The best God can have is possibilities, but if God is just possibilities, what does God really know? He only knows the past. He's learning the present, and we hope He'll learn the future. Hardly a position to be in, but that's the logical, consistent position of free will theology. Okay. Back to Deuteronomy 32, the Song of Moses and this prophecy here. Okay, I'm going to start reading from 32, and you can take time to read the whole thing. Let me see here. I'm going to read the whole thing. Basically, what Moses is saying here is that as good as God was to Israel, they began to sacrifice to demons. And that was going to be the choice that they were going to make. So, when we look now at Joshua 24, that was offered as a proof text for quote-unquote free will, and of course this is all that was read, it says here. And if it is evil in your eyes to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your fathers served in the region beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Who is Joshua? What kind of freedom is he offering them to choose between here? He's not telling them to choose between the Lord and the other gods. He's telling them to choose between the gods that their father served in the region beyond the river, which is in Egypt, or the gods of the Amorite in the land that they're currently dwelling. He's not giving them a free, in that sense, he's not even offering them the choice to choose between the Lord. Joshua's saying rather that him and his household are going to serve the Lord. Another passage, Isaiah chapter 1. Let me run through these quickly. How much time we've already taken up. Alright, Joshua 1, 19 and 20. If you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land, but if you refuse and rebel, you shall be eaten by the sword, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. Again, is this teaching us free will? No. It's just laying the choices that are out there. It's not saying anything at all that contrary to the heart and the condition of the people whom Isaiah is ministering to, that they can choose freely as they want. And what? And then again, you read that in light of Isaiah 6, when Isaiah has his vision. Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? It's from Isaiah 6, verse 9. And he said, "Go and say to this people, keep on hearing, but do not understand. Keep on seeing, but do not perceive. Make the heart of this people dull, and their ears heavy, and blind their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their hearts, and turn, and be healed." Isaiah's ministry was one of hardening the hearts of people of Israel. It was not one of offering choices to them, and we kind of see the same thing fulfilled in John chapter 12. This passage from Isaiah 6 is actually used in several places in the New Testament. But in John 12, in regards to the unbelief of the people, it says this here. It says, "When Jesus had said these things, he departed, and he hid himself from them. Though he had done so many signs before them, they still did not believe him. So that the word spoken by the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. Lord, who has believed what he heard from us? And to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed?" Therefore, they could not believe. For again, Isaiah said, "He has blinded their eyes and hardened their hearts, lest they see with their eyes and understand with their heart and turn, and I would heal them." Again, this is very clear. They could not believe. Not they wouldn't. They could not. They didn't have the ability to believe because God wouldn't let them. They were meant to be hardened. Hardly being able to choose contrary to what they want. And the last verse, Hosea 11, 4 and 5. "I led them with cords of kindness, with bands of love, and I became to them as one who eases the yoke of their jaws, and I bent down to them and fed them. They shall not return to the land of Egypt, but Assyria shall be their king, because they have refused to return to me." Again, this is just stating what's going on. They've refused. They've made their choice. It doesn't tell us how they made their choice. And that's the issue when we need to discuss things like free will, determinism, compatibilism, etc., is how does a person make the choice that they make? Could go on, I guess, other things. I probably should take the time to examine this more from a Calvinist perspective, but I think it's I think this is clear enough to refute Mr. Ruggerio's positions concerning God's sovereignty, human responsibility, and human freedom. I'd like to end with the words of Calvin and what he says about this